A number of us do take bike trails to work every day. For a long time, I had about a 3-mile commute right along the Poudre River here, which was lovely. I've seen bear on that commute. I've seen deer. The water that we get, some of it actually does come from the Poudre. So again, it passes right by our brewery within a couple hundred yards of our place. It's kind of poetic to think about the fact that, yeah, you're cruising along the element that you're gonna use to make beer later in the day.
All right, 3 heavy melons for you guys.
Thank you so much.
And did you want to rent a tab or just pay as you go?
Just pay.
Sweet, so we'll do 12.
Thank you. So here we are. This is New Belgium Brewing. We're in the Liquid Center tasting room. So you walk in the front door and you've got people drinking from the taps. You can take a tour here. You can learn about the brewery and sample all of our beers, small batch and large. So this is my office. So New Belgium Brewing was founded in 1991 by a couple. It was Kim Jordan and Jeff Liebisch. Jeff was an electrical engineer. Kim was a social worker, and they were avid homebrewers. And Jeff was biking through Belgium when he got excited about these Belgian styles of beer. He spent an afternoon in a bar there called Rouge Berthier. And he was writing down his tasting notes, and these are the actual notes from that day. When he came home, he created the beers Fat Tire and Abbey. It was a whole departure from his previous homebrewing. He had been doing German and English styles prior to that. The Belgian style of beer, there's a lot more fruit, spice, and I think it really freed him up creatively. So when Kim and Jeff were working out of their home, they had this little system right here. So the very first batches of Fat Tire ever were knocked out of that kettle in their house here in Fort Collins, Colorado. So Fat Tire, that is one of our first 2 beers that ever came out of the homebrew system. This was a beautifully well-balanced beer, the idea of malt to hop. Malt makes your beer sweet, hop can make it bitter. It's actually very challenging to make something perfectly balanced like that. To this day, it's a beer that opens a lot of doors for folks that are coming into craft for the first time. You know, there's a lot of stunt beers in the world these days, and we make a few of them. But at the end of the night, when you've had 3 or 4 sours, and of course you're not driving anywhere, you might want to wrap it up with something that's just nicely balanced and really almost cleansing to the palate. And I think Fat Tire is that beautiful beer. It's like coming home. So I came to college out here, and I left to apply my trade in journalism for about 10 years. And I was bouncing back through town, and I had some friends who were here from the very early days. And they're like, you should really check this out, do it for the summer, we'll hang out and catch up. And I said, all right. So my interview was, what's your spirit animal? And I said, sea otter. And she said, can you start tomorrow? And I said, yeah. Within 2 weeks of being hired here, just the discussions in the hallway, the passion and the energy, I was like, these people are building something great. It was about 55 people at the time. As I started to learn more about craft, you had all these really bright engineers, all these really beautiful brewers who were sort of artists and scientists. And so the culture of it immediately to me was really fascinating. It was just a great opportunity in a town that I loved being in. It was meaningful work that allowed me to be here. So this 200-barrel system is actually on 2 stories. Here we've got our kettle and our whirlpool are separate. And then the building itself is designed with a lot of sustainable ideas in mind. So there's a ton of daylighting all around, so you don't have a lot of electricity going on during the daytime. A lot of the ambient heat that comes off of these tanks can be used to heat the building. And this is where the beer gets made. So we have 2 brew houses here, 200-barrel system and a 100-barrel system down the hallway. And we're producing about 1 million barrels a year here in Fort Collins. And we have a second brewery that just came online in Asheville, North Carolina. That's about a 500,000 barrel capacity. So we think we're set for, the remainder of our build out to the US. So this summer is New Belgium's 25th anniversary, and so we decided to collaborate with folks. We took the recipe for Fat Tire and we handed it off to 5 brewers that we really respect. We allowed them to reinterpret, what would you do to this beer? Just to see, how other people look through something that you've known and loved for 25 years, but then kind of run it through their lens and come up with something new. I mean, that's really what craft's all about. It's just kind of pushing things in new directions. You want to have core things that people enjoy, but you also want to take some risks as well.
So 2 of our more well-known specialty brands include our wood-aged sour beers, Transatlantic Creek and Lawfully, where the art comes in is the knowledge and skill of knowing how to age these beers properly without letting them turn straight into vinegar or develop any sort of crazy acidic notes, just hitting that right perfect amount of tartness. And that's the job of our blenders. That's the job of Lauren Salazar and our wood cellar crew.
They're all gonna probably taste fairly similar. You're going to need to understand your scale better. I go smiley face, sideways face, frowny face. Once we get down to about 5, we'll start talking about blends. Right now, we are T-minus 1 month away from Le Terroir, which is our dry hop sour ale. I'm on my 3rd of probably 5 blend tastings. I'll definitely be zeroing in on the fooders I'll use. So we are currently in Cachela Foeder. It's kind of our pet name for our wood cellar. Foeder is French for big ass barrel. There's 65 of them here, which means there's a lot of sour beer inside of oak. Gigi, Golden Ghost, Interior, Forgotten Child, Debbie Harry, John Denver, Baby in the corner, and of course, lurking behind all these hoses is Vader. My title is under construction all the time. I was in charge of sensory, specialty brand management, educational programs, and most recently, much more focused on the wood cellar, specifically new product development and blending, just the direction that we're taking. Wood-aged sour beer. So these are our new fooders. These guys came in about 3 years ago, all from Sterling Winery in Napa. The blending process is pretty fun. The 2 beers in the Foeder Forest are Oscar, which is a dark lager, and Felix, which is a light lager. We basically take that from the stainless tanks. We'll take that beer, put it into the fooders to create sourness. 43 and anybody's favorite. Top 5. Top 5. Is it in your top 3? Are you gonna cry?
I like the apricot. It seemed a little fruity. Like there was some apricot notes to it that I liked, but
I always joke around when I was running panel, men would always ask me, how can I be a better panelist? And I'm like, talk about your feelings more. And they hate that answer. But yeah, so our olfactory lies in the same place as in our emotional seat. It's memory, emotion, and olfaction. And I think that the more in touch you are with one, the better all 3 of them work congruently together.
I still remember my first impressions of New Belgium, and I was riding my bike by, and it's all these guys in blue jumpers and long hair and big old beards. You could tell just by their body language that they're having a lot of fun. I was like, what is going on there? Once I was on the inside of that, I mean, all my expectations were blown away. It was truly all of that. So Thursday nights are volleyball nights here at New Belgium. It's a long-standing tradition. There'll be food, somebody might be barbecuing, there might be a little bonfire going.
Every day after work, we meet downstairs and we all have a shifty, we call it. It's a great way to unwind. People talk about the culture in New Belgium just as much as they talk about the beer. Kim is very heavy on just the codifying the cultural being that is an organization, and how just because you make something and you make money doesn't mean that you can't try to do it for all the right reasons, and all the while having people actually pumped to be at work.
Kim was always about creating a community that was meaningful and sustainable. So we had employee ownership from the beginning. The idea of philanthropy, giving to advocacy groups, that came from Kim's background as a social worker. Our advocacy around bike culture, you know, the reason we got into bikes was it's really who we are. So it made sense, it was on the glass. And then we started to do things like Tour de Fat, which is a philanthropic bike festival that travels around from city to city. It's raised more than $4 million for bike nonprofits around the country. So the cruiser bike is obviously an iconic image for us. It is festooned on our label, Fat Tire. Really, there's a lot of symbolic meaning in that. You know, it's the idea of slowing down, relaxing, enjoying life a little bit more. Early on, we decided to give a bike to coworkers at 1 year's employment. So you celebrate your first anniversary, you get a bicycle, encouraged to ride to work on that. Our town is great. We've got a huge trail system here. It's not just New Belgium, but there's something that's just inherently connected, I think, between bikes and beer. You burn off calories, you get all sweaty, you work kind of hard, and then you pay yourself off for a little beer at the end of that. And this town gets that all the way.
It's been palpable every moment that I've been here that this is a job, and I'm lucky as shit to be here, because the worst day here is the best day you'll ever have at another job.
That idea of you show up at work, you see some of your favorite people in the world, and you're all working together on the same project. It's like, I always wanted to be in a band or make films with people that I really believed in, you know? And when I come to work here, I feel like I'm doing that in a certain way, where we're all sort of doing something creative collectively together, and we all have each other's backs in a real big way.